Hello and welcome to our little webinar here. So my name's Marty Elbert with Circle of Life Legal Services. I'm an estate planning attorney, and you are here to learn about how to protect your child. So why is it important to actually even think about this now? Your child's young, having the time of his life or her life. You are too, watching them grow, watching every step they make, all the little progressions they have, just making life wonderful. Or they're teenagers and maybe they're not making life so wonderful, but you still love them, right? So, why do we do this? Because if something ever happened to you and the other parent at the same time, because the other parent would become the guardian if something were to happen to you, but if something happened to both of you, who would make the decisions for the child? Where would the child live? These are all things that you have to think about in the worst case scenario. So if you don't make a decision, who will? Well, the court does. So what happens is the child could be taken into protective custody by the state. Okay? If there's a relative that lives close by, they may place the child with that person. But first, the state has to authorize that. That means they have to go to court. They have to determine who is the proper person to watch your child or take care of your child for a temporary term and for long term. So leaving it in the hands of the court is something we always want to avoid. They might not pick the same person you would. We're going to go through a few steps to see who you would actually choose and how to choose the right person. First step I want you to take is to write down everyone you think of that is a possible caretaker for your child. Okay? It doesn't have to be the best person, the oldest person, the youngest person, the richest person, the person that will do the best. Just write down everybody you can think of that you would want your child to live with. Okay? I want you to make it as extensive as possible because we're going to go through a couple more steps where you'll be able to whittle it down to a few people. All right? So take a few minutes and write those people down. And I want you to take notes on this. So make sure you have some notes that you're going to list all your possible guardians. All right? And a guardian, like I said before, is somebody that will take care of the child physically, and there's also a guardian over the finances. So through different ways of creating an estate plan, we can name two different people to do this. It doesn't have to be the same person to take care of the kids and the finances. With a full estate plan, everything can be taken care of and sorted out so that their best interests are taken care of throughout their lives. All right, the next step is we're going to review each of the people that you have written down. We're going to look at the age, not only the age of the person that you're wanting to appoint as a guardian, but the age of your children. So it's going to make a difference. You may not want your 80-year-old mother or 80-year-old grandmother to take care of a toddler. So yes, she loves the kids and she loves them, but is she going to be able to keep up with them? Is she going to be able to provide the proper care for them? Keep them safe, entertain them constantly, because they are balls of energy, right? So make sure you're choosing the right person based on age, right? And if they're too young, that might not be a good one either. So if you're saying, well, I want my oldest child to take care of my youngest child. All right, well, your oldest child may be 18, 19, or even 20, maybe even 21. But really, are they the best person? They could be. They very well could be. But are they in college? Are they just starting their career out? Are they just starting their life? Are they just getting into a relationship? Is this going to be too much of a stress on them? Of course, they want to do what's best for the child. But we've got to always think of the other child too. So just because they're brother and sister, or brother and brother, or sister and sister, doesn't mean that they are going to be the best person either, because the age difference may not work as well. All right. So hopefully you've listed everybody in your all people available, and you're going to be able to whittle a couple out through just our little chat here and through this list. Okay. So physical ability kind of goes with age. So if you've got an elderly person that you're selecting or that you are thinking of selecting, really, are they physically able to? Like I said, are they going to keep up with the toddler? Are they going to keep up with the teenager even? So what you have to look at there is their health. Okay, first of all, their health, and how they're going to be able to do what you would want them to do. And the next one is emotional stability. How stable are they emotionally? Like I mentioned, the older sibling are, yeah, maybe they're 18, 19, or 20, but are they emotionally stable enough to raise a child? Whether they're 5 or 10 years old, it may not be the right person or the right time to be able to do that. All right, do you want to have co-guardians, or do you want to have a single guardian? All right, sometimes we think of, well, how about Uncle Bob and Aunt Marge? They're married, they have a great relationship, and their kids turned out fantastic, and they've always said how much they love my little kid, whatever the kid's name is. So, okay, fine, let's name them as co-guardians. What happens if something happens to, what about if something happens to one of them? What about if they get a divorce? Then are you going to choose your uncle or the aunt? So you have to think of those things. And those are things that we can actually put into your documents. You can say, if they are still married, we want them to serve as co-guardians. If they are divorced, we are going to choose an alternate. Now that's one of the next steps. So this is going to, this list of reviewing each of the people should have you get your list down to, let's say, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 candidates. All right. So married or single, and take a look at them as a couple, or if they were just single. All right. And where they live. Is your child in school? Is your child going to have to change schools? If so, what school district do they live in? And that can also go into, how big is their house? Are they going to be able to fit your child or your children in with whoever they already have? Maybe you're choosing somebody that already has 1 or 2 kids. Are they going to need to get a bigger house? Are they going to need to move? Are they going to squeeze everybody into one house? And that kind of follows us into the finances, or leads us into the finances. So how are they going to be able to take care of your child or your children? Do they have the resources to do that? Do you have life insurance? Do you have savings, 401k? What type of financial resources are you setting up to make sure they're taken care of? And what kind of an estate plan do you have that makes sure that that money goes towards their health, education, and welfare? And maybe they get paid out a little bit here, a little bit there, and during certain ages, they can get bigger chunks of money. So they can maybe buy a house, or they can invest in a business. So take a look at your finances and what would happen to your kids financially if something happened to you. All right, and finally, we're going to look at the family values. What are the family values of the people that you are choosing? Do they have your same discipline style? Are they religious? Are you religious? Do they have a different religion? How can you make sure that they are instilling the values that you would want to instill in your child? So take a look at their lifestyle. Um, their, do they have a stable home life for their own children? Did they have a stable life for children that they already raised if you are selecting somebody that's older? Really look at the financial values. All right, so in review, we're going to take a look at the age of both the guardian and the child, physical ability of the guardian, emotional stability. Do you want them to be married or single? Or even if they're not married, you want them to be co-guardians? Because if you know somebody are just living together, maybe it's a perfect situation for a co-guardian. Where they live, it's important. And then that leads us into the finances. And then finally wrap it up with family values. Once you've selected the top 3 or 4, you need to have a heart-to-heart with these people. Okay, you can't just spring it on them and say, hey, I named you as a guardian. Maybe that would be wonderful news for some people. Maybe it would be shocking to others. So make sure you have a conversation. Talk to them about what you would expect. Talk to them about all of those other issues that we just talked about, your values, how you want them raised, finances, how they're going to be able to afford it if you haven't planned for something for them. So it's so important to make sure that conversation covers all of the areas and all of the points that we discussed on the prior slide. So they are in the same line as you are, okay? So conversation with the top 3 or 4. Think of it as an interview. You're interviewing somebody to care for your child if you're not able to. And finally, you're going to choose a primary. So that's the person that is on the top of your list. That's the person that you're like, this is the perfect person to take care of my children, okay? Then you're gonna name an alternate, all right? So an alternate is going to step in if that first choice is not able to, or if it's a couple years down the road, they remember the conversation and they say, yeah, at the time I could do that, but maybe they had a kid since you've named them as the primary guardian. Maybe they've had a life-changing situation. Maybe they just had second thoughts and decided, no, I'm not the right person for this. So you have an alternate. You've got a backup that can step in there and take over. All right, so it's very, very important to have a primary and at least one alternate. If you want to have 2 alternates, that's even better. Then we also need a short-term guardian. So if your top 1 or 2 or 3 live in another state, even another country, who's going to take care of your child right now until that person can get there? Okay, important step to not forget. So if it happens to be one of your alternates, we can say our second alternate is also short-term. So until our primary person gets there, our alternate is going to take care of the child. If it's not any of the above, so if the top 3 people live out of state or out of the area, and you need to name a short-term person, think of somebody that already watches your child. Think of it, maybe it's a neighbor, maybe it's just a friend of yours, a coworker, childcare. So it just really depends on your situation and what you and your child will be comfortable with. Our next step is to properly draft the correct documents. I don't know how many times I've seen and heard from people that say, well, I wrote it down, I wrote a note, I told Uncle Bob that he was going to be the one. That's not enough. It has to be legally drafted, and it's got to be done in accordance to your state laws. Here in Florida, we have a couple different ways to do this, and they all fit into your full estate plan. So we can do a declaration of guardian for your minor child. This can be used while you are still alive. Okay, it's so important to understand that. If you name somebody as a guardian for your child in your will, If something happens to you and you become incapacitated, always use a coma. Everybody understands what a coma is. So if you're ever in a car accident and you're in a coma, and whether it's for a day, a week, a month, a year, that declaration of guardian for your minor child can kick in, and it can use the language that you've used inside that document to appoint a guardian for your child. So number one, number two, number three. So your primary and a couple alternates are going to be named in that declaration of guardian. Okay? In case you die, that's when your will kick in, and usually you're going to name the same people in the declaration of guardian as you are in your will. So it's important to have both documents, not only to name a guardian for your child, but to plan for their future. If you're not there, you want to make sure that there's a guideline or some instructions on how you want them to be taken care of. Now, although these are only 2 documents that I would recommend in an estate plan, it's at least a start. It's something to start your education with. And it's something that will at least keep your kids safe. If you want to learn about a full estate plan that we can make sure your children are taken care of at least until they get out of high school or turn 18, 20, 21, 25, we can set up plans to do that. Final step is to actually give a copy of the declaration of naming a guardian to the people that you've selected. So you want to make sure your primary has one and every alternate that you've named. So if you've got 1 or 2 alternates, you want to make sure they have it as well. You want to make sure that you may even want to make sure that they communicate with each other so that they are aware that, hey, I'm first in line, you're second in line, you're third in line. And it just opens up that whole new relationship for your children, just in case. Hopefully, they will never have to use this document, and you will live a long life, and your children will grow to be adults. When should you name a guardian? Right now. Absolutely right now. There's no better time to do it than now. You're thinking about it, you've watched this short little video, and now is the time. Your child deserves the stability that you provide. And this includes a plan for the worst case scenario. Keep your child safe, even if you aren't around. Even your adult children can have a plan. I'll take a couple minutes just to talk about that. So once your child turns 18, that child is no longer a child. That child is an adult. If that child needs medical attention, ends up in a hospital somewhere, and you start calling around to a hospital, they are not legally allowed to release the information of your child because he's 18 and an adult. Now, some of them may release the information, but they're not supposed to. So by having a plan that I call a kids transition plan in place, you can make sure that you still have access and can help them make medical decisions, that you have access and can help them with financial decisions. Sometimes this goes a long ways for if they're in college. And if they're in college a ways away, you can call up the administration and find out what they're doing in school. You can find out where your dollars are going for their education. If you're paying for their education, that might not be a bad idea. They may have some financial issues that you wouldn't be able to take care of otherwise. Medical issues, like I mentioned, that they wouldn't be able to take care of if they were incapacitated. Where are they going to call? Yeah, you're the parent, so you are the first in line. But these documents, my kids' transition plan, will help you get through that process much faster than just picking up the phone and calling. All right? So make sure your kids are taken care of, whether they're adults or children, especially the children that are younger than 18. Make sure they're in a place that they're loved, they're cared for, and taken care of by somebody that shares the same values you have. If you'd like to talk to me about this in private, I'd be more than happy to chat with you. You can just give me a call. If I'm unavailable, I will answer the phone. Otherwise, you can schedule a call with me by going to mytimetrade.com, book LV786, and it's my.timetrade.com/book/LV786, just like it says on the slide. You can take a screenshot of that, or I'll find a place to put it in a link below or above, wherever this ends up. So look for that link and you can schedule a call with me or just shoot me an email. All right? Well, thank you so much for all of your time and attention. I'd be more than happy to talk to you, like I said, about making sure your children are safe and creating a full estate plan so that they're taken care of for many years to come.